That's a tough one, because we often don't have the luxury of starting from scratch. We often don't have the luxury of paring something right down, because the system begins to wobble, and that great image of rebuilding an aircraft while it's in flight. It's very difficult to conceive of that within a large, heavy public institution. I think we have to address territoriality, that universities have to share that development space, the way they develop young people who form communities. I have to share that development space with others, with TVET, for example, technical and vocational training, with employers who have a huge responsibility to continue the training and development of young people. There can no longer be graduates who are fit for purpose, working in a whole range of exquisitely different environments. And so employers have to move into the space that universities have protected, and universities have to extend themselves into the spaces that employers have protected for some time. And one of those ways is to have a national policy, for example, on internships. So every private company operating within a region or a country become learning organizations. And that is a problem, that young people get into early careers and they find that there's absolutely no learning in the organization. There's no peer support, there's no reflection, that their performances are evaluated in the most bizarre ways, and that are very, very difficult for them to understand and fathom. And the information they get back is very difficult for them to make any changes in the way they approach things. So there's got to be a whole ecosystem change, I think. Universities can keep doing the kind of change that they think they should do. Certainly there are some glaring issues that they need to look at, and a lot of universities tend to offer a huge number of degrees that actually look very similar, and they try to change the titles of degrees to fit in with what they believe is the dominant narratives. But most of the degree content is written by people like you and me, who have a limited view of the world and have a limited range within our discipline, rather than writing degrees that will prepare people for the challenges that the communities they serve will face in the future. And that will require us to work across institutions, across sectors, and maybe working even outside our own countries. But I think we need to focus down on a smaller number of degrees. We can't keep graduating people with the same degrees over and over again internationally. I really worry about the increasing number of MBAs. Does everybody really have to have an MBA to succeed? Clearly not. But what kinds of degrees? And not just the content and the title and the direction of the degree, but the way in which the degrees are offered. Flexibly. We talk about micro-credentialing. We talk about people being able to stop and start the clock on their studies, to be able to take time out to get on with other aspects of their lives, perhaps to save some money to pay for the next stage in their education. I believe that quite a lot of the courses that I'm engaged in my professional life are truly apprenticeship degrees. Now, I know apprenticeship degrees have a particular meaning, but the way of learning is through apprenticeship, walking alongside, being in the company of, observing. And so we have to recognize that a lot of learning happens outside the university campuses, and yet we're still investing in trophy buildings and infrastructure. while we shouldn't be planning for the next lecture theatre, we should be planning for the next place that people can go and be supported in their learning.